bowling league around others wounded. The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have traveled about 4 miles to a local bar and restaurant. Sources tell ABC News that Card has a history of military service and is a firearms instructor. He was treated at a
hoping Bill Young and his son would be among the survivors of the shooting here at the bowling alley. It's also been hard to process, especially since the manhunt has entered another day.
Grief comes in different ways, and for Rob Young, that includes anger.
Human waste, human scum. I'm sorry, I got no nice words.
They're harsh words for Robert Card, the man accused of shooting and killing at least 18 people at a bar and bowling alley in Lewiston Wednesday night. Among the victims are Rob's 43-year-old brother, Bill Young, and 14-year-old nephew, Aaron. They were at spare time recreation for Aaron's youth bowling league.
It's bad enough to lose my brother, but Aaron's 14. He has his whole life in front of him.
Rob flew in from Maryland as his family frantically searched for answers. Just hours after landing, he says a state trooper delivered the tragic news.
It feels like we're going to wake up and we're all going
to... Mass shootings, when will they stop it? Another kid gone for unlimited profits.
So, you just heard this lyric from a song. It's a rapper who just came out with a new album. You can see this lyric is on his album. And to me, is the things that I look at it as like, if people only knew the reality. Right before that, you just saw the last mass shooting that was really impactful, in the sense of like the most death observed in history of the United States mass shooting. There's the number 10 actually. It was last year, about 6 months ago. A man ended up killing a lot of people. Inclusive of a child, and some children got shot at. Some of them, the bullets grazed them. But it's so nasty, so sad, because the people who partake in this program that push people to lose their mind. And let me just say this again: this was a individual, and then you're gonna hear that, who was hearing voices, and the voices were calling him a pedophile. And the voices, mind you, he was 40 years old when this happened. So schizophrenia, usually, you know that before maybe 30, right? He's 40 years old. He started hearing the voices, and start being paranoid. He thinks people are stalking him or things like that. It sounds very familiar, right? Typical target individual. So this man is actually a test subject who ended up losing his mind, as orchestrated, and ended up killing 18 people. This man was pushed to death by the same people involved in this program, torturing men, women, and children. He's what you call a TI. It's easy to kind of see who, to figure out if somebody's a target individual when they become as a mass shooter. Not all mass shooters are target individual. I'm not saying that, but he's a clear target individual. And you're going to hear the similarities from this mass shooting to another one in 2013 where the same stories were heard before he ended up losing his mind and killing 12 people. So a lot of people die because they're just casualty, and these people shooting people, those ones at least this one you just heard. The last one though, which was a large mass shooting killing 18 people, which include one child, which goes with this lyric here, mass shooting, another child gone. And for me, I'm looking at these bottom feeders here, trying to make me accept these manipulations, trying to push me into losing my mind. They are low-life cowards and trash. Right now, they're trying to use this. Let me say this. You will hear that childlike individual are involved in this program, trying to agitate the target individual This is not unique to me. You hear that. Some actually think that who's doing that is like a 14-year-old kid next door. Yeah, of course, it's just the bottom fears. Yes, the kids are involved in that, but of course they're guided to be acting a certain way. I don't want to look at these childlike individuals thinking, oh, this is because of you. No, it's just a bottom feeder involved in this. But they're being groomed at the same time because that means they're going to grow up doing these things to everybody. Or they'll probably be capable, if not already, to do that to even children. You are groomed in the world like that, where in their mind they already think that they're in a different world, they're gods or something. Like, it's for sure they'll be capable of doing, if not already, doing that to at least, for sure, women, but children too. For sure. I know right now the trash doing that to me would easily do that to women. I have no doubt. But they are being groomed to normalize this thing. This is what happens. But they're trying to counter that because these mass shootings are destructive to men, women, and children. Children are dying. Another child gone. And that's the reality of things. And there'll be more death of children because of this program. And who's agitating us? Oh, cowardness.com. Go. They're telling me how they're going to watch me scream in pain and torture when you just heard a child asking why. Why somebody... You heard her. Why would somebody do that? With a little weird, funny voice. Well, this trash out here saying whatever they need to agitate me in this cowardly way they live life. I'd rather get knocked out, I'd rather get burned to death, truly, than having to live in this nasty low life that they live. They did this thing. The reason why I'm making this video is because I have donated money to some of the victims of this mass shooting. One of the victims is a father, and there's a lot of fathers, a lot of kids. But one of the hurt me the most is this man had like a 2-year-old baby, and I've donated money to them. The way, and I've talked about it. I think there's videos about the mass shooting. I was saying they are slowly forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward the daughter, the 2-year-old. They didn't initially do that. I was like, they're gonna start doing that. Right now, the mass shooting is too fresh. They want to still look like they're good people. But soon they're gonna do this manipulation and be like, no, we mapped it. And they did. It was disgusting 2 seconds ago. But it's not the first time. They did it multiple times. And I went back and looked at it and they minimize it and then they increase it, like whenever they want. It's like, no, we mapped it. You were. Yeah, you use her hand, try to go back, and me as a child try to create these stories, and the kids just like, trash, you are forcing men and women, which you're going to hear, to have sexual stimulation toward children. To push them into insanity. Of course you are forcing people to do this. Of course I know this is what you make me experience. And they try to create battles now, but this is... No, you are forcing me to have that. And this is because you want me to lose my mind. This is a way to cognitively break somebody down. But the cost of that have cost the life of children. Another child is gone. A 14-year-old kid just got shot up. Like you heard earlier, he has his whole life ahead of them. What is this 14-year-old trash out here being groomed to be doing that to women and children and men? There's a poor 14-year-old who was just playing ball. He was bowling. And of course, everything was orchestrated. It's part of this program. And I'm sure there's profit, but also I know this is more than just profit because it's the involvement of a program that used some of the most sophisticated freaking technology you can imagine. But this trash, like I said, everything has its time. Everything has its time. Today, they're the guys that can push people to lose their mind. They can map, meaning they can manipulate the brain in these disgusting ways to the point where after they do these things, as always, for me, it's been like that. No, we're making you think the way you thought when you were a kid. This trash. And they're like, no, wait for it. These people just... involved in a program that just caused the largest mass shooting ever, and they tell me wait for it. I expect nothing but the worst, but they don't know what to wait for. All they know is this is the consequences of the insanity they push people to experience. This trash, cowardly, living life to do these nasty things. I can never let these people live this fantasy. This rapper is right. Mass shooting, another kid gone. There'll be other kids. There'll be fathers for sure. There'll be mothers for sure. Kids will not have their parents because trash like them are sitting in their room or whatever, remotely manipulating us to have these disgusting reactions, which will cause the life of others, but not these bottom feeders. What they try to sound in these tonalities in a menacing way or whatever mean way, like they try to sound, you trash, you involved in the program, this poor baby that you force me stimulation toward, this little 2-year-old will never see her father because trash like you in the program you are working for pushed the man to lose his mind to the point where he didn't care who he was killing. He killed a child and killed the father of this baby. While you trash, go be your best parents that you are. Trash. You know that this baby that you forced me to get sexual stimulation toward, and then you say, no, we mapped it. It's you when you were a kid. You mapped it. You and trash us. You're forcing me to get sexual stimulation, and this baby doesn't have a father because shit like you. And another child gone because shit like them. This brave, strong, with the tonality, with serene tonalities. Then when you see them as they try to manipulate me, you see the low life and you're like, this makes sense. This makes sense. Look at you. You fit exactly what you're part of. I was on the call. They tried to block it out. They tell me counting. Everything I know is going to, I'm experiencing. Is expected. It's orchestrated. Matter of fact, this mass shooting was very well orchestrated. It didn't take much. You heard all the tests. First of all, you're going to hear the obvious preparation for this. It's obvious that everybody, even if you're not even a target, even a somebody who works in this program, you know for a fact that this man was going to lose his mind and kill people. We're talking about an instructor of guns. He's an expert. He was a reservist. All the ability to shoot guns in all different levels. Over and over, the same people that I'm hearing the voices, and these voices are saying this and that. He's a 40-year-old man. All of a sudden, he's like, so paranoid, he starts collecting guns. You're going to hear, this is perhaps the most predictable, the most avoidable mass shooting you can ever imagine. But at the same time, it's the largest mass shooting in the United States, one of the largest, top 10. Typical testimonies of a target individual. It sounds exactly like the mass shooting that happened in 2013 when this man was saying he's hearing voices. He thinks he's being influenced by electromagnetic. He's thinking people are following him, and the paranoia. And this makes it more obvious that he's not schizophrenic because it all started in 1 year. And just because this guy's... in 1 year, he got to a point where he started hearing voices. To like the summer, he lost it. Then started saving, collecting his guns. Then all of that. Obvious target individual. And yes, another kid died. Another kid gone. And so for me, when I see them, I gotta see this shit for what they are. You can't be involved in this program doing these horrible things and think that I'm going to let you escape. They are here forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward the baby of a victim of a mass shooting that they pushed. And when I say they, I'm talking about this program where this bottom feeder is doing that to me, work for. It's okay. Everything has its time. Everything has its time. Today, you can make me have sexual stimulation toward children, and that is you winning. Because what they're trying to do is counter the fact that they're involved in this. That a kid died, that 18 people died, parents, and their babies will never know their real father, will never know their biological father because, unfortunately, they became victims to a mass shooting that was triggered, that was orchestrated by the same program that is doing these things to me. To hear this trash, thanking them every time I'm done with a call, I'm like, yeah, thank them again. Another kid gone. I'm just thankful that I didn't do anything to this trash. Even if it was a perp. Let this low life live this life. Everything has its time. God give me strength for the horrible torment I'm going to go through. But I know their time will come. And it will be less dignified. So listen to why another kid's gone. Listen to the testimonies of how nasty they are with the pedophilia type of torture, forcing men and women to get sexual stimulation to babies, infants, even baby powder. You heard all this testimony before. Yes, this is how bad it is. And hear that the mass shooting, they all sound the same. This mass shooting, they all sound the same. And yes, when I think about mass shooting, I know this guy is talking about mass shooting in general. Not all mass shootings are pushed by target individual, but some of the largest mass shootings in this country were done by people who were target individual, that were test subject. And last year, this was one of the largest mass shootings in the United States history, killing 18 people, inclusive of a child. And you saw that actually could have been more children, because there were children, and some of them got grazed by the bullets. Well, these cowards live life doing this, calling it being a war when they're just trash, sitting in the sweatpants and the pages and the utmost safety you can imagine. Watching target individual lose their mind, however they're going to lose their mind, controlling that, orchestrating that. I'm just thankful I'm not the one that's going to be doing something like that, killing or something like this. But imagine if I was somebody trained like this man who just killed 18 people. If I had guns, if I was in a place where I could have any guns, I have all the instruction of knowing how to shoot guns in every ways, and I've been training most of my life on how to shoot people. And would I be the one like that too? It's like, okay, well, let's go. In 1 year, he lost his mind to the point of killing 18 people. Well, I'm here praying, and have been praying, ask God, give me strength to not do this nastiness, to do not harm anybody, which is they try to change or something. Do not harm anybody that is involved in this, even though I know they're involved in this. Some of these, listen, I'm not the strongest man, but some of them, we're talking about some weak link, bottom feeder that feel like, and they walk with like the strength of like, because this technology can do so much to you remotely. They destroy my organs and then walk by me and look at me. I'm like, trash, if I do something to you, it will be okay. But I don't wanna have that in my hands. Let you trash. I know the truth of who's killing me. You're just a bottom feeder. As they try to do something. So I'm thankful that I didn't do that. And on top of that, the nasty, what they were trying to mess with me, the nastiness of the way they manipulate my brain, to the point they are forcing me. And of course, it got to that point, but I saw this coming. I was like, you don't want to stimulate me toward the child of this victim, because it's the death of this father was not too long ago, and it's going to look nasty. But the truth is, I expect you at some point to force me to get sexual stimulation toward this baby. They were just trying to wait for the death to be a bit, get over it. And then they stimulate music. No, we mapped it. Remember when you were that place, if you just mapped it to this way, you talk about me 13, when you were there, you felt it like that, right? I was like, trash ass. And to them, I'm supposed to, you're right. You make my brain like a 13-year-old. I'm 30-some years old, but that makes a lot of sense. You just made myself a little bit, yeah. But every ways, you've seen who this is talking to you. These people are renowned to manipulate people in these pedophilia ways. They're ran by pedophiles. The entities running this program are not these retards that you see here. They're ran by the Department of Defense, which they have issues with child porn to the point where they have a bill to limit the amount of child porn they are downloading using the Department of Defense devices. What the F? Well, this trash like, we mapped it, we mined it. And they say it in a different language, right? Because they think saying that in a different language is going to change reality. This coward of life. Like this trash was saying, everything has its time. She was just saying that, thinking that it's going to be applied to me. I'm in the suffering stage of my life. this if wherever I'm gonna fall from is not gonna be too high from what I'm at right now. Too low, I mean. Life is look at me. Can't even look at a child without being forced to get sexual stimulation and listen to some retard tell me this is what they're mapping me to me as a kid. But this trash who are manipulating people in these ways, sitting there, destroying the people organs from afar, wearing their sweatpants, wearing their PJs, causing people to lose their mind to the point of killing. All those, it's just everything has its time. While you see hearing this baby asking why somebody do that, it's because these gods will have their time. Listen to this.
Last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is a Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
A reservist, and the documents show that these warnings concerned his deteriorating mental health, rising paranoia and anger, and they came from pretty much every part of his life. And the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May, when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices, he's started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise, and there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile.
I was a mentally unstable individual.
This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and my ELF weapon. Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters.
Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
You know, have you ever been to boot camp? This gets into spies, information couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. The mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal or
it is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images.
From me and my family. Ben said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and...
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
This is part of the reason of the breakdown, the torture that TIs are experiencing, is they have to break down the ego in order to be part of a greater mind or mind control.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You you don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean,
knowledge. If you have knowledge ahead of time, Len, would you have gone through as much pain? I mean, you would have been able better to cope early on. Right. So we're trying to spread awareness and knowledge of, you know, that it's a machine and not your actual family, let's say, berating you. And mind control is so powerful in these weapons and voice to God. I mean, you have no ability to discern, like looking at a television, what goes into your mind. It is directly stimulating those neurons to think that. So, I mean, is bypassing your peripheral vision. Some people can see through their third eye, and that's called in psychology the visual workspace. Some people can smell artificial things, taste artificial things. All the senses have been bypassed, like in the movie The Matrix. They're literally plugged in to a synthetic controlled reality that they cannot differentiate from.
To impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example, artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutmann to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally correspond
military medical research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
There are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks. If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are
under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material called Project Flickr. Some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites. Graphic material called Project Flickr. Some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swann. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access. That what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography.